Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
I think that when people look around and see the environmental devastation, when they understand that we are facing the 6th mass extinction, people are starting to realize that now is the time to do something about it. You know, these problems are the earth crying out to us and telling us that it's time for a change.
Continue watching to find out more.
Continue to make war, 'cause you'll enjoy the hatred that even your children will harbor towards you.
My Vegan Journey is a series of shows featuring ordinary people making extraordinary changes in their lives by switching to a compassionate diet. People from all walks of life, countries, and backgrounds are coming to the realization that a plant-based diet is the only viable solution to most of the major challenges we face today, including environmental degradation, species extinction, and the emergence of zoonotic diseases like COVID-19. Their inspirational, real-life stories show us that every one of us has the power to help create heaven on earth for ourselves, those we love, and the world through a simple dietary choice.
Loving viewers, Itapien means "How are you" in Rotuman, an Austronesian language spoken by the indigenous people of Fiji's Rotuma Island. The contented people of Rotuma thank you for protecting nature and the wildlife by adopting the compassionate vegan lifestyle. My name is Taito. Welcome to our show, My Vegan Journey, the nurturing power of femininity with Tammy Whitmore Coleman and Lisa Wade, both vegans, part 2 of 2. On today's show, we continue to explore the power of femininity in veganism as we meet Lisa Wade, a plant-based advocate of over 10 years, whose love for animal persons helped guide her back to her true peace-loving nature. Born and raised in South Africa, one of the most biodiverse places on Earth with an abundance of fascinating flora and fauna, Lisa was surrounded by a variety of animal people early on in life.
I really grew to love and appreciate wild animals in nature. And I also grew up in a home with lots of pets. We had cats and dogs and we had bunnies, and they were just really like my best friends. So from a very young age, I grew to just really love and respect animals.
Regrettably, South Africa is also a country where a diet heavy in meat, dairy, and eggs is the commonly accepted norm. So Lisa did not come into contact with the idea of a plant-based way of eating until later in life. When she was 18, she and her family relocated to the United States, where she studied psychology and finished her education to become a teacher, and soon after, a vegan.
When I was teaching, I was in my early 20s, and there was a school nurse on staff who was vegan. And she would talk to me about why she was vegan and what she ate. And it really made sense to me. She said, you know, I love animals and I don't want to cause any intentional harm to any animal. And I thought, I love animals too. And I don't want to cause any intentional harm to animals either. So I went home and I spoke to my husband and I said, you know, I'm thinking about at least going vegetarian and then possibly vegan because I love animals so much. And he said, well, I love animals too. Let's do it together.
However, when Lisa became pregnant over 20 years ago, information about plant-based nutrition during pregnancy was still very scarce, especially in the medical community. Lisa was advised to at least consume the meat of fish people and dairy products. So she interrupted her vegan journey at that time, a decision she regrets today.
I think that was just the worst advice for a pregnant woman because, as we know, our world is very toxic, very polluted, and the toxins actually bioaccumulate the higher you go up the food chain. So if you're eating plants, you're eating a very clean diet and you're not, introducing any unnecessary contaminants to your fetus. But when you eat, particularly fish and dairy, the oceans are so polluted. And in dairy, toxins concentrate. So I think that was very ill advice. But unfortunately, I did take the advice because I was worried. And that kind of started me on a path of being sucked back into mainstream culture.
Historically, in Japan, food industry meant vegetarianism, being under the influence of Buddhism. Masami Akita, vegan.
Esteemed viewers, we'll be back after this short message. Please stay tuned to Supremaster Television. Thoughtful viewers, welcome back. After years of switching between vegetarian, vegan, and even the old standard American diet or SAD, Lisa allowed herself to listen to her innate compassion for animal people.
About 10 years ago, a number of circumstances happened that just made me realize that it really was time to stick with my gut feelings and do what I knew was right, which was not to eat animals anymore. And when that happened, when I made that firm commitment to never turn back again, I actually just felt like this weight of guilt, just this burden of guilt lift from my shoulders. And I hadn't even realized that I was carrying this guilt around, but I felt really light when I made that decision. And ever since then, I've felt wonderful. Probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
Since then, Lisa has been an enthusiastic champion of veganism. When asked why she would advocate the welfare of animal people over that of humans, Lisa responded like someone who genuinely envisions future life on this planet through the lens of love, compassion, and caring.
I always explain to them that it's not an either-or situation. You can certainly advocate for people and animals, and I do. I'm part of a group called Plant-Based Advocates, and one of our goals is really to work for the rights of people too. And we serve meals, healthy plant-based meals to unhoused people. We felt during the pandemic that people are really struggling, and the people who are most in need are probably those who don't have a place to live. So we organized this program to deliver fresh, healthy plant-based foods. I really think that changing what we eat is the most powerful thing that we can do. And that's not just my opinion. There have actually been numerous studies that have shown this. So many studies out of Oxford University, and they discovered that if the whole world were to go vegan, we could actually free up land the size of the continent of Africa and still have enough land to feed the world. That really struck me because we're losing a lot of species right now because of habitat destruction. Biodiversity is really declining and we're losing so many of our species. In fact, we're entering the 6th mass extinction of species because we don't have enough land and habitat for animals. So imagine if we had the size of Africa to leave wild, to plant trees that could suck greenhouse gases out of the air, suck carbon dioxide out of the air, and provide a habitat for all the animals who are so endangered. So I can't think of a better way to save the planet than to go vegan. And I also think that it's the most pleasant way to do it. And I certainly think that this time in history is really important. I think that when people look around and see the environmental devastation, when they understand that we are facing the 6th mass extinction, and when they look at the pandemic, which is caused by exploiting animals, I think people are starting to realize that now is the time to do something about it. These problems are the earth crying out to us and telling us that it's time for a change.